Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Human Design Geeks podcast, a podcast on everything life through the lens of the human design system. We get together every week, putting our hearts and mind together in the service of the collective awakening, joined in our passion for this beautiful and profound knowledge. Our intention is to educate, bring awareness, and trigger a meaningful change in everyone sincerely looking for it. So, thank you for joining with us today, and let's dive right into it. Enjoy! And today, this week, we are continuing to build on the most important thing in the whole human design system: strategy and authority. So this is a continuation of the conversation from the past week. We've already covered several types of auras with their strategies, and this week, let's dive into what? You go, guys.
Wow. There was your most beautiful intro of all from the beginning. You
Oh,
are
Shote.
you are shining, Marta. What's happening? What's buzzing over there?
I think it's just me living my design properly.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So nice, so nice. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation last week. I really enjoyed it. I think I had a how do you say, like it lingered on longer than normally we do a show and then we go on to live, and I was like literally saying 2 days later to my girlfriend like, oh, I really loved our last conversation. It was so, I don't know, I just loved it how we talked about it and how we also still learning with each other, and we don't sit here and be like this, leaders in human design, but just like knowing our stuff, exploring with it. And then we learn from you, Marta, how you talk about being a manifesting generator, and then we listen to Juju, how he is this projector there and being emotional, and then me with my, sacral there as a generator. So I love how we all learn and also spread the vibe of human design, because it's still it's from the day I think I'm 7 years in, 8 years in now. It's still every day it is we learn, and it's more fascinating than the first day you get engaged with it. So I love how we talk about this, and I love that we're gonna make a part two about strategy authority. Maybe it's good to make a quick, like a very quick lineup what we did and we spoke last time. Not that we're gonna say everything, but maybe for people who are listening and watching, that last time you asked Marta, like, let's go dive into strategy and authority, and we just started off to explain strategy first. So what is
Mm-hmm.
strategy and how your aura is working, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we covered what I guess the manifesting generator and the generators, which is one group, the generator aura. It
And a
is,
manifester.
and the yeah, so the generators as a group, and then we did the projector, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
manifester. So
Mm-hmm.
we covered four auras. Well, some people will say three because the generators is one group, right? So we discussed that. So maybe you feel differently as a manifesting generator. I know. You are a special human being, Marta. You are.
Look at this
But
vein popping up.
but no, so I think and if people want to know about that, I think it's better to go back to our last episode and first watch the first part, and then I think it's good to go on with our thing. I don't know, Juju, if you want to elaborate more on our last week, or maybe fill something in the moment.
I feel something in it. Last week, I mean, it was a blur. Actually, I was sick at the time,
Oh yeah, true.
and I had a bit of a sick week last week, so it's kind of I'm coming here as a blank page,
I love it.
projector
Beautiful.
blank page, and
Beautiful.
That's so good. It's so nice that you can be on a blank page. I think a lot of people want to have that, right? That you can just be a blank page, like just evolve, like what's gonna happen is gonna happen, and and react or respond as your aura, or to be invited as your aura as a projector, or maybe to inform or to impact the world as a manifester, and then you know, then just as this episode, we don't gonna know what we're gonna say, what's coming out of my mouth, you know. I'm already talking so much with my open throat.
Whatever you say, boss.
And with you
And
with the closed throat.
that's the beauty of it, guys. That's the
Yeah,
beauty of it.
I love
Blank
it.
sheet. We're all the three of us. We have open hats with some activations into it, and that's why we're here to explore and let be the channels of whatever wants to come through. Well, if you allow me, maybe I will invite us to proceed because we have not touched on, to me personally, the most fascinating aura type, which I don't know so much about at all. And I'm so eager to learn today about the reflector and the strategy of the reflector. So, Juju, would you like to get into that as
Oh
a
yes, I
true
will.
one line you are?
A true one line. What?
The first line that you are.
Oh, the first, of course. Thank you for recognizing my foundational expertise. And
Got you. I got you, baby.
I and it was I can feel the manifesting generator Dubai energy in you right now.
I'm
And it's
vibing. I'm
fascinating.
vibing.
Yeah, thank you because I'm amplifying. It's like, ooh, ooh la la,
Feels good.
manifest, feel good inside my gut. Oh la la, energy. What is this?
Right.
Uh, but but yeah, reflector. It's fascinating because I want to start. After I got better last week, I went to this Buddhist temple where I met this guy who I never met before. We just started to chat in a sort of spiritual group, and there was just a good connection. And we met at this dinner place in the middle of a lot of lunch place in the middle of this big um, open space with a lot of people eating. And he sits down and we start, hey Gerald, his name is Gerald, and I was like, hey, and then I'm getting out of being sick, so I'm a bit suspicious, like I'm a bit like, who is he? What's his really after, what's his intention, like usual projector stuff. And and then I could feel he was also a little bit like trying to read me, and I'm like, what is this? What's going on? And then it's like we start to have like smart talks or spiritual talk and this, and I'm like, and then at some point I do his design, right? And I'm like, we go for coffee afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, of course, you're a reflector, completely open. And I was like, and I told them about being a reflector, and then basically at that moment there was an additional like, oh, I can be myself because he's just amplifying me. He is just amplifying me. So when I came in, I was a bit like, who is this person? He was also like this, and then when I opened up, then we were like just brothers, like talking like about things and
You were talking to
really
yourself.
feeling, yeah, it's talking to myself, like super sweet, super, like I felt like, like a teddy bear, like, we felt like a teddy bear tandem walking in the mall in Kuala Lumpur, and it'd be like, like feels so good, like always talking, nicely talk. And it was like, oh, that was nice. It was amplifying me. So that's the reflector, the magic of the reflector, and my experience, and what also Ra says, when you meet a reflector, most of them people don't like them because they reflect in their own selves. And yeah, that's so beautiful because it's if you like who you are and you meet a reflector, it's like he or she is just amplifying you.
True.
So you can say it's a
And
perfect mirror.
perfect mirror. Yeah.
It is. It is.
And
Maybe it's good to Juju to show for the people who are watching the podcast. Maybe it's good to show like a reflector because we already know what that a reflector is fully open, but maybe for people who don't know what a reflector is, because it is pretty rare. Only 1% in the human population is a reflector. It's still a lot of people though, but like being on the 1% is it is still very rare. I always call it a rare Pokemon. So I always make fun of it, but it's like so. If you see, we're looking now at Peter Dinklage, which I already found very fascinating. Is the actor in Game of Thrones? You want to say something, Marta?
I want to ask you guys.
The balloons.
I want I want to ask you guys to clarify first before we dive into it.
Yeah.
What are the quality? What's the aura? What are the qualities of the
Yes.
reflector aura quality? Oh,
Yeah.
reflector
Yeah.
aura.
Yeah, reflector aura. So that's where I wanna go to. Like so if you have your design and you're fully open, which we mean with fully open is that all your centers are open because you're not like fully open because you still have all your gates, so you have all gates going. So there's still like red or black, coming from numbers from your chart. But it is fully white in all the centers. So if you put up your human design charts, which you can find online everywhere, and it's fully white, that means you are a reflector. And when you're fully open, the aura, what Ra is saying, and I think it's very interesting to maybe dive deeper in. I have some reflector friends around me, which I always have tons of questions because you don't find them very often, but it's more like I try to understand how it is to be a reflector because it is such a rare thing. But what the aura is doing, Ra is calling it sampling. So it's a sampling aura. So we talked about the generators being open and enveloping, the manifestors being, closed and repelled. But the reflector aura is sampling. And what sampling means is that it is sampling from the environment where it's in. It's sampling, it makes snippets out of the environment and tries to understand where it is. So it always is sampling where it is. So the most important thing for the reflector is environment, environment, environment. It's always about the place where they are. If the reflector is not on a healthy place, so it's not living in a correct place, it doesn't feel safe in the right place. Like environment is so important for the reflector because when it is on a good environment, it can be flowing and it goes everywhere. But if it's not correct, the reflector gets very ill soon. It has a lot of physical disabilities in going there. But you can imagine, like the aura. I think Ra is also saying, like, I don't know if you say it in English the same, like the Teflon. Teflon, do you know, like Teflon? When you have where you do like cooking the pan, when what's in the pan when you cook on
Hmm.
it's like a layer something in the pan, right? So he is explaining that the aura for the reflector has a kind of Teflon layer around. So it is more protected than, for example, the projector is. The projector actually is less protected. It is actually more vulnerable to whatever is coming to them than the reflector is, which is, I think, a pretty thing around because you're fully open. You will think like, oh my God, how do you live in the world like this? I mean, you would die instantly, right? If you're so open, like how would you manage? But the human design is smart. I mean, the human body is smart. So when you're fully open, it is a kind of Teflon layer. So it's protecting you more than the other auras. But it's like all the time sampling out in the environment to find information where it feels good or safe or so that is actually the way the aura is working of a reflector. I don't know if somebody wants to reflect on that.
Oh, I just keep thinking about as you're talking about it. I just keep thinking about the most fascinating thing for me about reflectors is that they're shapeshifters. They're chameleons,
Uh-huh.
and they're never fully open, really, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're always affected by the transits.
Yes.
That one day they're a generator, the other day they're a manifester, and like they shape shifting all the time. So that's the most fascinating thing to me. And I wonder, so when you're together with a reflector, so they take on your shape, they take on your aura qualities. Is that so?
Say it again. Ask it again. Sorry.
Do they take when they are together with you, right?
Uh-huh.
You have the joint, you have the joint body graph, the composite.
Yes.
Do they take on your aura qualities when they're together with you?
Yeah, yes,
Oh,
of course.
that's
Yes, I mean, you can. So yes, of course, but that's also with every human design. So if we always come to each other and each other's auras, we always influence each other, right? So that is like always the case. But maybe Juju, you want to say also something
yeah, no, that was interesting, the what Marta said about, I pulled out the
just now, chart?
transit just now chart of Peter Dinklage, and right now he probably feels like a manifester.
Yes, he
So
feels it.
he's experiencing in his, 28-day cycle what it is to be a manifester. He's going to look at it from a manifester point of view. And when, I have a really good friend of mine from high school. He's with a manifesting generator. Uh, he's, yeah, living in together. He's got the energy. But he remains very much himself. So
True.
some reflectors feel that they don't know who they are. They always like their identity change, but actually the core thing always remains the same. And the way you connect as a reflector to the electromagnetics and the way you connect with people like will define the nature of that relationship. And of course, within that relationship, if I go to see my friend and I'm high on my wave, he'll be like, yeah, like, super positive, super happy, I can have a jolly good time. But if I go in and I'm like on low on my wave, how you feel sometimes, Willie, I'm like, like a little bit struggling, negative, and then he'll be like very judgmental, struggling, like, and that will be his experience of that moment. And when I'm high on the wave, that's the experience. So that I guess that's how they can be objective. And I guess that's how a reflector will be different in each interaction and each day of that interaction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I should ask my friend's wife how it is to experience a reflector over the month. Maybe we should invite them when we do a podcast series with invitees.
That would be great.
That
Yeah,
would have been so interesting.
it is. It is interesting. But I think it's interesting to find out because if we talk about the aura, like the sampling aura, and if we talk about the strategy, so we talked about strategy with everything thing, the
Hmm.
strategy of the reflector is to wait a lunar cycle. So it needs to, and this is crazy to me. Like if you want to make a decision, so they don't really have an authority. So that's a good to say. The inner authority, because they're fully open and white, there is no inner authority. So they don't have anything in themselves to know that they make a decision or not, right? That is like already a big thing. But then remember, like if they're so open, the moon is having so much influence with us as a human being. But the 28 days of the moon cycle going through, that is the thing they need to check out. So they are like, then they are a generator, then they are a manifestor, then they are a manifesting generator, then they are a reflector, then they are a projector, like in this lunar cycle. They need to, and it's a little bit the same as the emotional wave, I would say, like how you can, express it. Also for Julian as an emotional being, and we will go into this episode with the emotional center as an authority. He needs to take time for his decisions because he needs to wait out that he has the most clarity for the decision. That's actually the same kind of thing with the reflector. It needs to wait the fully lunar circle, the 28 days, to fully have an idea of what they want, right? So that is a long time. So if you and if you want to make decisions, I mean, like, can you imagine Marta as a manifesting generator being so fast?
No, a
Like how
sacral one.
I'm
No.
like, how can can you imagine you're sitting there on your couch, you're like, I'm a reflector. I want to do this now, but actually to be really clear about what I want, I need to wait it out 28 days to really have felt every possible thing of that situation. Well, that is, I don't know. I don't know, right? And but maybe also to be a reflector. I don't know, to be, we aren't a reflector, so we can only elaborate on what we know and what we've learned of. So we don't have the experience to be a reflector. But maybe to feel as a reflector can also be maybe be something you can feel the whole cosmos and the whole, like also in a way we cannot experience it whatsoever. So maybe it is the most exciting thing to be a reflector, to live as a reflector. Maybe it is such a crazy experience that we don't even have an idea how it is to be a reflector. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I guess it could be so powerful if you are to live authentically through your design, and it could be so overwhelming and frustrating and everything on the negative side if you live through the not self. Because if you are a fully open being, means you're like constantly conditioned by the world through every possible energy center and center that exists in your body graph.
Yeah,
That could be so difficult, so overwhelming.
And that's why they call it the canary and the coal mine, because
true.
he is basically the he will show when there is gas in the coal mine and when it's toxic. And I'm thinking about my friend when he worked for Bank of America. Oops, I shouldn't say, but he was like having skin problems and everything. But when I see him and he's happy, he's like happy environment, good environment, then he's glowing, everything is going well, And that's
But it's a beautiful
yeah.
thing you
That
say, Juju, about the coal mine because why they had the bird down is because the bird fell over earlier, so they could when they see the bird dying, they had time enough to now it's the same with dogs who help people who have like these strokes and kind of things, and the dog is already sensing or
emotional support dogs. Mhm.
yes, and like pushing on a button, and they need to make mats so, because the dog can smell, and it can already be faster, further ahead than the human being. So that is a great quality you say there, Julian. As a reflector, you are already feeling something is off. If the reflector, so if you are with a reflector saying we need to leave this place, I would go immediately. I would say I will go. I will go. I will go with you because there's going something to happen and we don't know what, but I'm gonna be out of here. That is also a great gift, right? As a reflector to already feel in the environment that there's something is off and you want to go. But I can also imagine that, and I think you also maybe Juju experiences as a projector, that sometimes you already feel it and then you stay in because it's social awkward to say I want to leave or like and then you're okay, I will stay, and these things are so important. If you feel this inside thing that you need to leave, especially also when you're splenic, but leave the place and own, and that is, but it's socially not accepted most of the time to just say goodbye. But yeah, I don't know if you
Eh,
recognize that, Juju.
No, that when you said that, it's for sure because with my open sacral, s- I was sometimes in a place and I'm like, I don't want to be here. It's like, what am I doing? Like I'm not being recognized. It happened to me last Friday, Saturday or Friday. We were with a friend in this cooking show, and I was like, I don't know. It's like, blah, cooking like meat and fish, and I'm vegetarian, and I'm like, old people all there. And then suddenly the owner of the cooking where like she came and she had this beautiful energy. I don't know, I didn't do her design yet, but she was like, and then we started to talk, and I started to get attention, and then I think I'm getting lost in the what was the question again?
No, well, you felt that you want to leave,
Oh,
right?
oh, I felt,
The
but
open head.
yeah, the open head, but with open sacral, sometimes even in relationship, when I'm in a relationship dating somebody, and then I'm like, or even a friend, and I'm like, it's not good, it's toxic, it's not something, it's not what I want. And then it will take me, I'm too nice, too sensitive. I want to stay more because it's like, oh, I feel safe here, or I feel energy safe. So I can imagine for reflectors, how would that be?
Well, I think
I guess
no, I think it's
because they're
still good to have that
yeah.
Teflon layer, right? So they have some kind of other protection than all other designs have, because otherwise you will be true. They would not survive, I guess, because they will be latched on everything. They will be so conditioned on everything. I mean, wow, that is tough, right?
Yeah,
I'm
and
really
they can.
craving a reflector in this room, guys.
True.
I should have organized something, but maybe we can invite next one, like just to give it like a post reflector moment after we publish this, maybe to send the reflector to watch it and then to bring it in.
That would
I
be
have
great.
many reflectors that could
My
join.
sacral is going, yay, let's do this, let's do this.
We definitely need to
Let's
do. Let's.
party.
I think it's good for our show to have if we go into next season that we do these things. I think it will be great to have all these other experiences.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
actually,
So
like with each type, probably to like separately,
Of
somebody
course.
else apart from us,
Yeah, true.
and to explore these things.
So I think to round up the reflector, I think it's interesting to still say also the not self theme and the signature. So because we talked about with the generators, we feel frustration if we don't follow it through, right? Or we feel
Hmm.
satisfied, have satisfaction if we go correct. But for the
Even if we're tired and exhausted, we still feel like
yes, yes,
ah.
satisfied, satisfied. There's it. Right generators and for the projectors is like to have the success to be guiding and feel the bitterness, to when they're not be seen and invited. And but for the because I asked this to a reflector friend, the not self theme is disappointment and the signature is surprise. So so when they are in the correct environment and when they are waiting that lunar cycle, and it is always like this feeling of because I was asking like what is surprised, what does is that a correct word for you, like if you feel like light it up, and he said yeah, it feels like, for me it feels like, oh what, like this is happening, it's wow, like this spark of wow. And then he said, okay, how does disappointment feel? And then he says, and I thought it was also touching and vulnerable, but he was saying, when I don't feel on the correct place or stuff, the disappointment for me is like, I think I better leave and, let you all people do your thing. And, and you see him like disappearing and la 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 la. And I was like, that is such a great example of a feeling of disappointment, right? So the reflector feels that as a projector has more like there's more energy around like bitterness. There's more like a I wanna be seen. I wanna be, but disappointment is more like, okay, guys, I'm gonna be out. Bye. Okay, yeah, yeah. Right. That's disappointment, and it's such a. So I always try to feel how it is to have that not self theme or signature. But I was explaining, and that was what I was feeling like. Oh yeah, so you have a feeling of I will let me just be me, and I will go away, and that was I think it's the best thing I could describe from a real time reflector how he was describing disappointment. So that is the thing, the not self theme and the surprise for signature for the reflector. And then actually the reflectors already talked about because they don't have an authority. So this is strategy authority for the reflector. It is
To
waiting for
wait.
the wait for the lunar cycle and to sampling their environment. Be at the right. I mean, number one thing for the reflector is be at the best environment you can. What you feel. If you don't, I mean, if you live in a house with people you don't want to be, you feel the room is not. Go move and really because it's very very important to live in the right environment. That is actually the most number one key for a healthy reflector. So if you're a reflector watching and you're not happy at where you live, change it. Change it because that is actually very important.
And so what would they do? Would they what we just said, they wait for at
Yes.
least a month to and maybe they would go over their options like where would I want to live or is that do you think how that works?
Well,
They would.
that is mental, what you
Mhm.
now just described, because now you were mentally describing thinking, because thinking is like, oh, do I want to live there? Do I want to live there? So that is like a thinking mechanism.
So how would they make a decision of what's the right environment for them? They would have to go and test it, sample it,
Yes,
or
so they
how?
yes, so they need to be in the place to know, like they need to be in the right GPS place, and they sample the aura and they feel if they feel if that's correct for them, and then they need to like wait it out to be like generator, projector, manifestor, reflector, generator, like all these types and all these things to feel through, just with the emotional wave. And then if it still feels correct, then it's the correct place. I think that is what how would I describe to be a reflector. Yeah.
Juju, do you have
and
anything to add?
now I was gonna say about being objective about, but that's more the quadruple split, I guess, the definition, objectivity. But could you say that a
Mm.
reflector is objective also in their decision, like more calm, not like patient, but just clear. It's like, yeah, okay. I'm asking because I don't have the answer. Maybe
What
that's
you're
a question
saying,
we, yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking of a friend who's a reflector, also 4-6, by the way. And from my communication with, and I don't know, maybe she's just reflecting me, but she does, her energy feels really like calm,
Absolutely.
just really calm, just
Absolutely.
like, you know, like that.
It's true. Only one I don't, but every reflector I know, they have this kind of aura of, I would say like, okay, yes, like, all right. Uh-huh, what do you mean? Yeah, okay, yeah. Always watching and no like,
Hmm.
"Ooh."
Yeah, that's my experience too.
Yeah, floating around. But it also depends on how conditioned you are, right? So there probably also be reflectors who are, being a manifestor all the time because they're so conditioned by their parents or
Mm.
people they around. Um,
Right. So, can we touch a little bit on the condition? Because I think it's important to touch upon the conditioning. Because I introduced the human design system to a reflector friend that I just mentioned. And I feel like it's a little difficult sometimes for them to recognize themselves in
mm,
it, right? And
yep.
that's probably mainly because of the conditioning. They look at it and like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. I'm like, well, maybe you're just conditioned as someone else and not yourself.
Hmm.
And so, do you have guys any insight on specifically reflectors and the not self? Juju, I'm thinking about you because you have a lot of practice with so many people and maybe quite a few reflectors as well. Can you give some insight into the not self and the conditioning of reflectors?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm just trying to feel, and I want to answer with like another question
Hmm.
to build on yours. Is there a difference of conditioning between a reflector and the rest of the types? Like an open sacral, my open sacral, for example, how I know for me, suddenly I have all the energy in the world and I'm like, drunk on whatever sacral energy there is. But a reflector, would they just experience it in a more like Teflon-like? Because I'm super porous. And in that same line of thought is, are open heads, am I experiencing it differently than you as a generator, manifesting generator, and or a
Probably,
reflector?
yeah.
Yeah, probably. I would.
That's an interesting.
I think the biggest difference is when you are alone and you are a reflector, it is open. And when you are alone with even your design, Juju, of my design, or you're still something. And what I mean with that, there is still something buzzing. Still a generator, so that is still my basic. So I would not
Mhm.
say it, I would say it the other way around. We're all influenced, we're all conditioned. We still
Mhm.
are. We can, with every person who is, deconditioning themselves, I'm fully honest, I will be conditioned the rest of my life. That is something that is happening. But I think when I'm alone, I still have something to base myself on. You know what I mean? I still have something. I have a sacral, I have a G center, I have a root. So there's something which is still going there, which is me. And I can imagine for a reflector when it's not when he's alone, there's nothing. Yeah, well, maybe the lunar cycle and stuff, but still it's like I think that is so that is maybe what they based on the 28-day cycle is they need to be themselves and they need to be where they are in their cycle to figure out their and then they go through that 28 days and they have an idea of what they want or what they make which choice they make or how do they feel and so that is more important but yeah that would my guess be is that that's a big difference, right?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. Where I was coming from is, we touched on generators being conditioned often as manifestors, projectors being conditioned often as generators. And I'm thinking about this, like just the practical sort of insight into when you grow up in the family that gives you the conditioning. And Ra gives a beautiful examples, like really inside with examples of how this happens. For instance, with the generators, where a parent comes in and says, go do that, blah 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 blah. So instead of responding, you're conditioned to what's the initiate. And
Yeah.
with the projector, instead of waiting, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And so I'm so curious what it's like for a reflector. This is where I'm coming from.
I think we need a reflector. We need to organize it.
Yeah.
We're gonna organize it. So what I have the book here. I was checking out reflectors this morning also. So when we talk about reflector children, he is saying that for the most important thing for the reflector children and reflector in general, it is that they need to learn to have their own pace, and they don't need to be pushed. So it's very important for parents that they give, because your child is so unique. So give your child the room and space to be their own unique being, and don't push it. Let it figure it out in their own pace. And I think that is very important for a reflector to have that pace. That yeah. That,
Amen.
yeah.
Aho and om.
So shall we go on to authority?
I'm thinking whether we should wrap this up for today on the type and authority, and the type and the strategy, and make an authority a whole different, like, separate thing. What
Also
do you guys?
possible. A great,
uh,
great
Yeah,
suggestion. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes.
agreed. Yeah.
So
We we
that means
we have spoken.
that this episode is actually a pretty episode of reflectors. Actually, it's like actually a good
Reflector.
episode. Yes.
Yeah, cool. Well, they
Well,
deserve a
they
special
deserve
attention
it.
because
They
they are
deserve
very special.
it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I will
yeah.
send it
So
to all my
cool.
reflector friends.
And yeah,
Me
that's good.
too.
Yes, we were gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and
So
then they're
that's
gonna.
why it needs to be compact, you know. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. And
do
they
Mhm.
got.
do we want to share one advice each for our reflector friends that will watch this, or one comment, or one
Oh my
insight?
God.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had a question for you guys, because maybe you have a little more insight and understanding. What is the magic or the gift of being a reflector?
Ooh, I know. I can.
Go, 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 go.
And it's how they call it in BG5, you know, the reflector is the evaluator. They have the gift really of having somebody in your life that's a reflector, is their ability within 5, 10 minutes of seeing you to really evaluate where you are, how you've changed, where, you know, and it's a great. I wanted to say it earlier, but it's within a short time, they're like, oh yeah, this has changed, you know, in a very objective, detached way, like, and it's a great way to know how you evolve, how you grow, how you, or if you're stuck, or if you're going down, you know. So it's thank you to the reflector, my reflector friends out there. I love you. Keep
Me too. I
evaluating.
join.
Wow, yeah. So, and I think it's great, Juju, you say that, and I think it's also great to maybe on a standpoint view of the reflector itself, because it is pretty good for me or for you, right? So, but when you are the reflector, I mean, it's great to use your reflector friend as, hello, welcome, come and join, and so I can be better and know where I am right now. But how it is for the reflector itself, and I could say the only thing I would say for the reflector is you can be the most wisest person on this planet because you can feel everything. All the centers are open. So when you have an open center, Ra was always saying it is not, I mean, it can be a burden, but it's also the wisdom. So you can be, you can feel and see. You have all your awareness centers open, your sacral root, everything. And so you can, you know, how it's also you can be so special to know and be wise on everything you see and feel. And I think that is a gift. I don't think that is a burden, that is a gift. I would say to the so that was what I want to say to my reflector friend is that you are a gift and you are special. You can be wise in every way of being a human and being in the cosmos and nature and all these kind of things. So that is a gift and not well, a burden, right?
Not a curse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not gonna try to be so smart here right now, and with reflectors because I know so little. So I'm gonna give a very general and also the best advice ever, as I would to any other type out there. Dear reflectors, please, please, please take time to understand your aura and understand your strategy because in the grand scheme of things, this is all that matters. If you can follow your strategy, you'll be good.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Aho and
Aho.
om and om.
Aho, oh, money, money, money.
And I
All
and I
right. Well,
love
that's
and
a
I love that Peter Dinklage is a reflector. I thought it was a great great person to put
Teal
up.
Swan is also one, right? She's quite popular right now, like in
Feels
the field of
spirituality,
personal
yeah.
development and spirituality.
Yeah,
And I think that's her gift too. Like she's coming in from all this wisdom to educate others about
absolutely.
what's happening
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
So
And she's reflecting all the time. I mean, like, phew, and also sometimes, I when I see a movie clip of her of YouTube, whatever, sometimes I also feel like, like I get this, and I'm like, no, this is me. This is me. Oh my God, this is me. Yep.
that's beautiful.
All right.
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. This was a beautiful wrap up on a whole big important topic of aura types and strategies. And we're right about to go into the authority theme the next week. So please stay tuned. This is another exciting, important conversation because just to remind you from the first episode, the previous episode, strategy, authority, two tools you need to know. The rest is less important. Strategy and authority. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we'll see you next week. Yay!
Bye.
From the man in black and the woman in black.
Yeah, men and women in black.
Ciao.
Signing off. Ciao.
Au revoir.